Imagine waking up on a sun-kissed beach, feeling the sand between your toes, and knowing you never have to set an alarm again.
The secret isn't a lottery ticket. It's knowing exactly when to start saving for an early retirement. Stay with me for the next 15 minutes, and I'll reveal the age that gives you the biggest bang for your buck, plus the steps to get there.
When I was 28, I asked myself the same question. I loved my job, but the idea of being chained to a desk until I was 65 felt like a slow death.
Around that time, the FIRE movement started popping up on forums, promising freedom through aggressive saving and smart investing.
The problem I saw was simple. Most people think they can start later and still make it, hoping for miracles that never come.
In this video, we'll break down the math, the lifestyle variables, and give you a clear, ideal age range.
By the end, you'll walk away with a simple 3-step action plan you can start today.
First, let's talk about the power of time. Compounding is the engine that turns modest contributions into a massive nest egg. Picture a tiny seed growing into a towering oak. The formula is simple. The amount you start with multiplied by 1 plus the return rate raised to the number of years. To see how powerful that is, imagine two people who each put $500 a month into the same investment. One starts at 25, the other at 35. By the time they're 55, the early starter has almost double the balance of the later starter, even though they saved the same amount each month. The rule of thumb is that every year you delay, you need to save roughly 30% more later to catch up. So time is the biggest lever, but it's not the only one. Next, we need to figure out how much you actually need to live the life you want. Your retirement budget includes basic expenses like housing and food, plus lifestyle extras such as travel, hobbies, and healthcare. A common rule of thumb for traditional retirement is the 4% rule. You can withdraw 4% of your portfolio each year without running out of money.
For early retirement, that rule gets a bit shaky because you'll be drawing down for a longer period, but it's still a useful starting point.
Let's look at two case studies. The first is a frugal traveler who can live comfortably on $30,000 a year. The second is an urban professional who needs $70,000 a year to maintain their current lifestyle. Using a quick spreadsheet calculation, the frugal traveler needs roughly $7,500,000 saved, while the urban professional needs about $17,500,000.
If this is clicking for you, give the video a quick like. It helps the channel keep bringing you practical finance breakdowns.
Now that we have a target number, we can combine time and need to find the ideal age. The simple equation is ideal age equals your current age plus the target nest egg divided by your annual savings times 12 times the average return. Let's walk through that with our two examples. The frugal traveler saves 15% of a $50,000 salary, which works out to about $750 a month, and assumes an average return of 6%.
Plugging those numbers in, the ideal age lands in the early 30s.
The urban professional saves 20% of an $80,000 salary, about $1,300 a month, with the same return assumption, and lands in the early 40s. The sweet spot for most earners is typically early 30s to early 40s, and it moves earlier if you can consistently save more than 20% of your income. Of course, the road to early retirement isn't a straight line. Common roadblocks include salary stagnation, lingering debt, market volatility, and unexpected life events.
The fixes are equally straightforward.
Pick up a side hustle to boost your income, funnel any extra cash into high-yield retirement accounts like a Roth IRA or a 401k with an employer match. Automate your investments so you never miss a contribution, and keep an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months of expenses to avoid dipping into your retirement savings. Treat your retirement contributions like a non-negotiable bill. You wouldn't skip a rent payment, so don't skip your savings either.
Here's the moment that changes everything.
The single most impactful insight is that the ideal age isn't a fixed number on a calendar. It's the age at which your savings rate and investment return intersect to give you a 25-year runway to your desired lifestyle.
Picture a timeline where you hit that marker, then glide smoothly into early retirement, free to choose your next chapter. If this is blowing your mind, Hit subscribe and let's keep exploring together.
Now that you have a clear picture of the age where the math lines up, let's turn that insight into a concrete roadmap you can start walking today. The first part of the plan is all about getting crystal clear on the numbers that matter most to you. Grab a notebook or open a fresh spreadsheet and write down 3 things. Your current annual income after taxes, the percentage of that income you are comfortable committing to retirement savings, and the average annual return you expect from a diversified portfolio. If you're not sure about the return, a conservative estimate of 5 to 6% works well for long-term planning, while a more aggressive mix might push that number up to 8 or 9%. Remember, the higher the return you assume, the earlier you can realistically retire, but also the higher the volatility you need to be prepared for. Next, calculate your desired annual spending in retirement. This is where lifestyle choices come into play. Think about where you want to live, whether you plan to travel frequently, and what kind of healthcare coverage you'll need. A good rule of thumb is to aim for a retirement budget that is about 70 to 80% of your current pre-tax earnings. But many early retirees find they can thrive on a much lower figure by embracing a minimalist mindset.
If you're a digital nomad who can work from anywhere with a reliable internet connection, your housing costs could be dramatically lower than the average urban rent.
On the other hand, if you anticipate needing a larger safety net for family responsibilities, you might target a higher number. Write that target down in plain language. For example, $30,000 per year for a modest travel-focused lifestyle, or $70,000 per year for a comfortable suburban life. By putting the figure into words, you reinforce the commitment in your mind. With those 2 numbers in hand, your annual savings amount and your desired retirement spend, you can plug them into the simple equation we discussed earlier. The result will give you an estimate of the age at which you'll have accumulated enough assets to support a 25-year runway of your chosen lifestyle.
If the age comes out later than you'd like, don't panic. This is where the power of incremental adjustments shines. Even a modest increase in your savings rate, say an additional 5% of your income, can shave several years off the timeline.
Likewise, boosting your investment return by shifting a portion of your portfolio into higher growth assets while still maintaining a diversified risk profile
can accelerate the process.
The key is to experiment with different scenarios until you land on a target age that feels both ambitious and attainable. Now, let's talk about the practical steps to make those adjustments happen without feeling overwhelmed. The first habit to cultivate is automation. Set up an automatic transfer from your checking account to your retirement accounts the day after each paycheck arrives. Treat that transfer as a non-negotiable bill, just like rent or utilities. If your employer offers a matching contribution on a retirement plan,
make sure you're contributing at least enough to capture the full match. That's essentially free money that can dramatically boost your compounding effect.
For those who don't have access to an employer match, consider opening an individual retirement account with a reputable brokerage that offers low fees and a wide range of investment options. Many platforms now provide a set-and-forget feature that automatically invests your contributions according to a pre-selected asset allocation, which takes the guesswork out of market timing. If you find that your current income doesn't leave enough room for a higher savings rate, explore side hustles that align with your skills and interests.
This could be anything from freelance writing, graphic design, tutoring, or even renting out a spare room on a short-term rental platform.
The goal isn't necessarily to replace your primary job, but to generate an extra stream of cash that can be funneled directly into your retirement accounts.
Even a modest side income of a few $100s per month, when consistently saved and invested, can make a noticeable difference over a decade.
Keep track of the time you spend on these side projects and evaluate whether the financial return justifies the effort.
If you discover a side hustle that scales well, you might eventually transition it into a full-time venture, further accelerating your path to early retirement.
Another lever you can pull is tax efficiency. Different retirement accounts have distinct tax treatments, and understanding those nuances can help you keep more of your hard-earned money working for you. For example, contributions to a traditional retirement account reduce your taxable income in the year you make them, but withdrawals in retirement are taxed as ordinary income. Conversely, Contributions to a Roth account are made with after-tax dollars, allowing qualified withdrawals to be tax-free. If you anticipate being in a higher tax bracket later in life, a Roth vehicle can be especially advantageous. Some investors also use a backdoor strategy to contribute to a Roth account even if their income exceeds the usual limits, by first making a non-deductible contribution to a traditional account and then converting it. While the mechanics can be a bit complex, many reputable financial blogs and podcasts break down the steps in plain language, and a quick search can point you to step-by-step guides. Let's not forget the importance of an emergency fund.
Life is full of unexpected twists, and dipping into your retirement savings to cover a sudden expense can derail your compounding trajectory.
Aim to set aside 3 to 6 months' worth of living expenses in a high-yield savings account that's easily accessible. This buffer gives you the confidence to stay the course during market downturns, knowing you won't need to sell investments at a loss to cover a short-term cash need. If you already have a solid emergency fund, consider allocating any additional surplus directly to your retirement accounts rather than letting it sit idle. Now, you might be wondering how to stay motivated over the long haul, especially when the journey stretches across many years.
One effective technique is to create visual milestones that celebrate progress.
For instance, set a goal to reach a certain portfolio value by the end of each year, and when you hit that target,
treat yourself to a modest reward that doesn't compromise your overall savings plan. Some people enjoy tracking their net worth on a public forum or sharing monthly updates with a community of like-minded early retirement enthusiasts.
The accountability and encouragement that come from a supportive group can be a powerful catalyst for staying disciplined. If you're comfortable, consider joining an online community where members post their savings rates, investment strategies, and lifestyle experiments.
Engaging in those conversations not only provides fresh ideas but also reinforces the mindset that you're part of a larger movement toward financial independence.
Speaking of mindset, let's address the psychological side of early retirement. It's easy to get caught up in the numbers and forget that the ultimate goal is to design a life you love.
Take time each month to reflect on what truly brings you joy and fulfillment. Is it traveling to new cultures, learning a new language, volunteering, or perhaps building a creative project?
Align your savings strategy with those passions, and you'll find the discipline to stick with it even when temptations arise.
Remember, the freedom you're working toward isn't just about money. It's about having the agency to choose how you spend your days.
By visualizing the lifestyle you desire, you create an emotional anchor that makes the daily habit of saving feel purposeful rather than burdensome.
Now, let's dive a bit deeper into the investment side of the equation. While we've mentioned a generic average return, the composition of your portfolio can significantly influence both the expected return and the risk you're exposed to. A classic approach for early retirees is the 3-bucket system. A short-term bucket for cash and cash equivalents to cover immediate expenses, a medium-term bucket for bonds and other relatively stable assets, and a long-term bucket for equities and growth-oriented investments. The short-term bucket might hold a few months' worth of living expenses in a high-yield savings account, ensuring you have liquidity without needing to sell assets during a market dip. The medium-term bucket could consist of intermediate-term bond funds, which provide modest returns with lower volatility. The long-term bucket, which typically makes up the bulk of your portfolio, should be diversified across domestic and international stocks, covering a range of sectors and market capitalizations. By rebalancing periodically, you maintain your target asset allocation and lock in gains from the equity portion while replenishing the cash bucket as needed. If you're comfortable with a bit more risk, you might allocate a larger share to the long-term bucket, especially if you have a longer horizon before you plan to draw down the funds. Some early retirees also experiment with low-volatility equity funds, which aim to reduce the swings in portfolio value while still delivering growth. Others incorporate dividend-focused stocks, which can provide a modest stream of income that can be reinvested to accelerate compounding. The key is to find a balance that matches your risk tolerance, time horizon, and personal preferences. If you're unsure where to start, many reputable financial institutions offer model portfolios based on age and risk profile, which can serve as a solid foundation. Let's not overlook the impact of inflation. Over a multi-decade horizon, the purchasing power of your money can erode if your investments don't outpace rising prices. Historically, equities have been a reliable hedge against inflation, as corporate earnings tend to grow with the economy. Including a healthy allocation to stocks in your long-term bucket helps protect your future buying power. Additionally, consider allocating a small portion of your portfolio to assets that have a direct inflation link, such as Treasury inflation-protected securities or commodities. While these assets can add a layer of protection, they also come with their own set of risks, so they should complement, not replace, a well-diversified equity exposure. Now, let's talk about healthcare, a critical component of any early retirement plan.
In many countries, health insurance is tied to employment, and leaving the workforce early can mean losing that coverage.
It's essential to research alternative options well before you make the transition. Some people opt for a high-deductible health plan paired with a health savings account, which offers tax advantages and can be used to cover qualified medical expenses. Others explore private insurance markets or, if eligible, government-run programs that provide coverage based on income or age. The cost of healthcare can be a significant variable in your retirement budget, so factor it in early and build a dedicated healthcare fund if necessary.
By planning ahead, you avoid the shock of unexpected medical bills that could jeopardize your financial independence.
Another often overlooked factor is the timing of Social Security or equivalent public pension benefits. While early retirees typically aim to rely on their own savings for the first few decades, understanding when you become eligible for these benefits can inform your long-term planning. In many systems, delaying the start of benefits beyond the earliest eligibility age results in higher monthly payments, which can serve as a valuable safety net later in life. Even if you don't plan to claim these benefits for many years, knowing the rules helps you avoid surprises and can influence decisions about when to fully exit the workforce. Now that we've covered the nuts and bolts of the financial side, let's circle back to the emotional and social dimensions of early retirement.
One common concern is the fear of losing a sense of purpose once you step away from a traditional career.
While financial independence gives you the freedom to choose how you spend your time, it also opens the door to exploring new passions and contributing to causes that matter to you. Volunteering, mentoring, or even starting a small side venture that aligns with your values can provide a sense of fulfillment and community.
Many early retirees find that the structure of a regular schedule, even if self-imposed, helps maintain a healthy rhythm.
Setting weekly goals, carving out time for learning, and staying physically active are all part of a holistic approach to a rewarding post-work life.
If you're worried about social isolation, consider building a network of like-minded individuals who share your vision of financial freedom.
Attend local meetups, join online forums, or participate in workshops focused on personal finance and early retirement. These connections can become a source of inspiration, accountability, and even friendship.
Sharing experiences, challenges, and successes with others who are on a similar journey can make the path feel less solitary and more collaborative. Now, let's address a scenario that many people ask about. What if you experience a major life event, such as a career change, a move to a new city, or an unexpected health issue? The beauty of having a solid financial foundation is that it provides a cushion to navigate these transitions with confidence. If you have a robust emergency fund and a diversified portfolio, you can adjust your savings rate temporarily without derailing your long-term goals.
For example, if you decide to pursue a passion project that generates lower income for a period, you can draw from your savings to maintain your target retirement timeline.
Then ramp up contributions once the project stabilizes.
Flexibility is a hallmark of a well-designed early retirement plan.
Let's also talk about the concept of partial retirement, a strategy that many find appealing. Instead of a binary choice between full employment and complete withdrawal, you can gradually reduce your working hours, shift to freelance or consulting work,
or take on a part-time role that aligns with your interests.
This approach allows you to keep a steady income stream while still enjoying more free time, and it can smooth the psychological transition from a structured work environment to a more autonomous lifestyle.
By allocating a portion of your earnings from part-time work directly to your retirement accounts, you continue to benefit from compounding while enjoying the flexibility you crave.